Hello everyone, Lytro Storm here, and today we'll be continuing What If Javier was in Season 1. This will be Part 2. Where we left off, we had just finished Episode 2, so now we'll be beginning the third installment of Season 1. So if you haven't seen Part 1 already, link will be in the description and probably the comments section as well, so make sure you check it out before watching this, as I'm not providing any recaps because of the Walking Dead format. Just a quick reminder that if you do enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe as it really helps me out and lets me know that you want to see more like this. As always, be sure to join my Discord and follow me on Twitter. Links in the description. Episode 3 would begin with Lee and Kate going on a run instead of Lee and Kenny. I was gonna put Javi here, but since Kate hasn't really gotten to do much, I'll put her here instead. The reasoning would be that Kenny is wounded by the gunshot, and if the group has 2 more able-bodied people, why bring the injured man? Anyway, Lee and Kate would go through the town and would be talking along the way. Kate would tell how she wanted to leave and do something since she barely goes on runs. Plus, with Kenny and Lilly's constant arguing, it just seems like everyone's on edge, so it's better to get away. Lee can then ask about her thoughts on the Kenny and Lilly situation, ask about her life before the walkers, or tell about how the kids are getting along. With the first option, she will say that she doesn't care what happens as long as the group sticks together, so Kenny can't just grab the RV and drive away. The second would be that she was Javi's brother's wife, and talk about how he was in the military. And the final choice would lead to her saying that the kids are all pretty good friends already. As you're walking, you would bring up the supplies and how they're going by so fast. Kate would then take this and offer Lee to know a secret. No matter how you respond, even if you say no, she'll tell you anyway. Kate essentially says that she's been using a small bit of the drugs. Lee asks why, suggesting that she may have been injured or something. She tells him no, and that she's been doing the drugs rather than using them. This is pretty in character with Kate, considering the scenes and dialogue in A New Frontier. Lee will then respond shocked, understanding, or neutral. The others are self-explanatory, but the neutral will just see him express that he doesn't care as long as she doesn't use too much. It could be needed one day, nobody really knows. Kate tells Lee not to tell anyone, but then they hear some screaming. It's the woman from Cannon running from walkers. She gets bitten, and Lee can either put her out of her misery, or continue to the pharmacy. Kate will say that they should go and just leave her there, as she needs to get enough stuff to make up for her use of the drugs. Either way, they go into the pharmacy, grab some stuff, and go. Kate will save you from the walkers no matter what, because unlike Kenny, she won't leave you to die if you mess up one time. Come on, Kenny, I didn't have your back once, so it's okay for me to die? I mean, who do you think you are?
I am a Christian man.
Fair point. Anyway, you make it back to the motel and find Kenny and Lilly arguing about whether they should stay or should they go. Lee and Kate break it up and give Lilly the supplies that you found. Kenny brings the argument back up, and so Lilly freaks out, yelling that someone has been stealing supplies. Now this would actually be great within the story if it was actually canon. Imagine you're playing for the first time, and Kate tells you about how she's been using the drugs. Then Lilly says that someone is stealing them. You would assume it was Kate, and so the story would have you go in that direction, but you'd later find out who it actually was. I think that would actually be really cool in an alternate universe from a gaming perspective, but anyway, back to the story at hand. Lee would then do all of his investigation, and if you have Carly, then you can do the whole telling people you're a murderer thing. This time, it would have Kate and Javier as options to tell as well. Telling Kate would result in her not really caring as long as you kept her secret. And telling Javi would also lead to him not caring and saying that it just might come in handy as well. When talking to Lilly, Lee can also have the option about Kate's secret, saying that she told him that she took a little bit extra. Lilly will then exclaim, "A little?" calling her a druggie and saying that she's going to get everyone killed by doing that. She informs Lee that there's a lot more gone than just a little, and that he needs to find more evidence, as everyone in the group is already on edge, and with Javi, they'll probably have some opposition against their claims. Lee then leaves, eventually finding all the proof and evidence until he takes the supplies out of the grate. When he reports it back to Lilly, everyone is held hostage by the bandits outside. Lilly dips like in canon, and Lee goes out to negotiate. She returns to shoot one of the guys, resulting in everyone escaping. Now, I'd like to explain a mechanic that's in the actual game. In the scene where you have to aim down both sides of the RV and shoot at walkers and bandits, if you have Carly, she will cover one side on her own, leaving you with only one to cover. But if you have Doug, you have to do both sides on your own, but Doug will call out enemies on either side. Here, Javier will be assisting you by taking the right side. If you have Carly, then they both cover that side because Lee is the main protagonist with all the godly plot armor and he can do stuff on his own. If you have Doug, then Javier covers it on his own, but with Doug calling out enemies being much more effective. This leads into the scene where Katja and Duck are attacked by a walker, but this time, since there was a whole extra man shooting, that walker is killed before it can ever even attack them. This means that we've prevented Duck from being bitten, which will, for now at least, save both him from turning and Katja from suicide. And this will also lead to Kenny not getting his character arc throughout the season. The gang then pack into the RV, with it being much more cramped, but still manageable. On the road, Lilly accuses Ben or Kate depending on if you told her Kate's secret. If you did, this will obviously expose you, and Kate will now dislike you. Eventually, things will escalate once Kenny runs over a walker. Everyone gets out, and that's when Lilly finally tips over the edge and pulls out a gun. However, with Javier there, he manages to barely stop her from shooting Ben/Kate. Unfortunately, the shot lands on another victim, Carly or Doug. So yes, while the change is there, Carly and Doug will still die in this what if. The group is enraged by this, but they vote to leave Lilly behind no matter what Lee says. It only makes sense given that Kate and Javi are there, and Lilly just potentially shot at Kate. Kenny continues driving, and everyone else goes to sleep, and in the morning, they find the train and meet Chuck. Kenny and Lee try to fix the train up to get it working, while everyone else just chills out. Once the train is working, since Duck isn't bitten, the whole argument with Kenny never happens, the train never stops for the group to put down Duck, which means Katja never shoots herself, lessening the time by a lot. We'll get back to that in a bit, but for now, without Duck's death, Lee's inspiration from Chuck to train Clementine doesn't show, at least not in that way. I think Chuck would instead tell Lee that about half of the group are children who can't do anything to defend themselves. It's extremely likely that any of them could die. Lee takes this and decides to cut Clem's hair and begin teaching her how to shoot. Javier actually sees this and decides to do the same for Gabe, since Gabe is always wanting to do something to help and seems more mature than Mariana. Now without Katja and Duck's death, Kenny wouldn't undergo his character arc. This means that he would be in a much more stable mental condition and would not be developing as a character nearly as much. Anyway, all the time saved results in them not meeting Omid and Krista, at least not yet. That change is then completely undone when they do the investigation on both the bridge and the house. Omid and Krista would show up and meet with the group, offering to help. In the house investigation, Javi and Gabe accompany Clem and Lee, helping them by taking out all the walkers outside the building. After this, since everything goes by much quicker, the walker horde never shows up until much later after the group has already boarded the train. Omid will still fall and injure his leg though, since the truck falls onto the ladder. The group escapes, and Kenny and Lee hear the stranger on Clementine's walkie-talkie, and that ends episode 3. We'll pick up where we left off in part 3, which will cover both episodes 4 and 5 of season 1. Be sure to tell me if you enjoyed this part and the series so far. But as always, tell me if you liked this part, tell me what you think will happen next, comment your requests for future videos, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.